What's up, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Rafael Medina. I'm a photographer from Providence, Rhode Island. And today I just want to go over a photo trip that I took last year back in November. It was actually my first street photography photo trip that I ever took. So I want to discuss a few things about it, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. So I want to encourage anybody who's been on the fence about doing something like that to, make that decision to go forward with it. I've been wanting to do a photo trip for years, and I always find reasons not to do it, whether the time isn't right, whether it's money, whether it's, it's anything that would stop me from doing it. I would always just gravitate towards that because how easy it is to give into fear. But luckily last year I had 2 plane credits that I had to use by the end of the year, and I had 3 days off from work, coincidentally. So I decided to just see what was the cheapest flight. It happened to be to Washington, D.C., so I just took a flight there for 2 days and went to focus on street photography. And it was so amazing to be just somewhere else by myself, to just focus on the work. I'll be very brief with this because I want to just show you guys the photos. I didn't have any POV videos or anything like that, so I'm not able to actually show you how I was able to take these photos, but I did want to just showcase some of the photos that I took out there because I was just very happy with my time out there. The main thing that I was trying to get out of that trip was to be less fearful of taking photos of strangers. I get comfortable doing a lot of the same things sometimes out in Providence, and there's so many times that I wanted to take a photo that I ended up not taking because I was just too scared of whatever the interaction might be, even though, I will survive, but it's just you always overthink it in your head. So I just needed to get away. I needed a change of pace. I needed to see new things too. I got lucky that I had this opportunity, but whatever. So I was there for 2 full days, and the second day is the one that mattered the most. The first day I got some work that I did like, but it wasn't what I was out there for. I was still keeping my distance from people. I was still not approaching or not getting close enough to some of my subjects. And those photos are fine, but the reason why I would make that decision is what's important to me. So if I just want a faraway shot, that's fine, but if I'm taking a faraway shot because I'm afraid to get close, then that's not good for me. So but the first day, like I said, I got some photos that I enjoyed, and it was just cool to be out of the state and to be somewhere by myself. At night I ended up going to a local concert. I believe the name of the company is So Far Sounds, but they do small shows in different states, and I've always wanted to go to one out here. I've only been able to, I think I went to one about 4 years ago, but luckily for me, they happened to have a show 45 minutes from where I was, so I took a train out there, and it was just cool to be somewhere else and, get that experience. I took some photos of it as well, obviously, since I do concert photography, and I had my camera on me, so I definitely took some shots while I was there. Kind of crazy that the girl behind me starts asking me about my camera, and we started talking about photography and all this stuff, and she says, what was it she said? I think she was like, yeah, I just moved here from Providence, Rhode Island, and so she said something like that, and I remember looking at her and I was like, all right, I'm getting pranked. Like there's no way that I'm here in the middle of Washington or wherever I was at this moment, and the person behind me just happens to be from Providence, Rhode Island. But it was very true. It was actually my good friend Winslow's friend, who he's been visiting at that time in Washington, D.C., so I was aware that she lived out there. I just wouldn't have guessed that I would be sitting in front of her a few months after she moved. So life is pretty crazy sometimes. So I felt like the second day is the day that really changed for me because I was taking the necessary risk to get the photos that I wanted. When that day started, I still felt like I was still fearful and I was still holding back. And I kept telling myself, this is your last full day here and you can't do this for the rest of the trip. So there was one photo that I got that was my favorite from the trip. And that photo just kind of left me on cloud 9 at the time. I was taking a photo of something, and then when I turned around, there was this couple that was walking past me, and they just looked so cool, and I barely had time to lift up my camera, but I literally did it so quickly. I took the shot, and I was like, I probably didn't even get that in focus. I probably didn't even get them. And then when I looked at it, it just seemed like everything was fine, and I didn't believe it. I was like, I have to wait to upload it to see if it's in focus. But luckily for me, it was in focus, and ended up being one of my favorite photos of last year. You know, I love the way they look, her glasses, they both have their phones in their hands, how focused they looked. And then there was another photo that gave me that same feeling. And I was walking, I might have been in Georgetown at this time, but I was walking past this shop. I saw the salesman speaking to the customer, and then he had somebody else behind him. And I just love the composition of it. And then as I walked by, I looked at it and I thought it looked so good. And when I went to take the photo, I got scared and put the camera down, kept walking. And then I was just so upset at myself. I was I was cussing myself out, and I was like, no, walk back to see. I was like, you need to do this. So I walked back and they were still in the exact same position, luckily for me. And then after walking back, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk back again and hope that they're still in the same position. And then when I walked back, when I passed them again, they were still there. I lifted up my camera, and when I lifted up my camera, the guy in the middle just turned to me and he looked at me, and I took the shot, and then I kept it moving. And definitely one of my favorite photos of that trip and of that year, probably. Those two photos at the time just made me more comfortable with doing that a lot more. And then, like, for the rest of the trip, I felt like I was being a lot more bold with my shots. I still don't get I don't feel that I got anything as good as those two shots personally, but it was definitely a change of pace. And after that, I was just happy to be crossing that threshold that I was trying to cross. I finished that day at the Lincoln Memorial, and it was like one of the only touristy things that I did out there. But it felt so peaceful. The weather was perfect. The sky looked incredible. It had the cotton candy colors that it has when the sun's going down. And it just felt amazing to be out there, and I felt very accomplished at that time. And then when I was finishing up at the Lincoln Memorial, I decided to spontaneously take an e-scooter. I've never used an e-scooter before in my life. And yo, life-changing. It was so much fun. I wish I had photos of me on the e-scooter to show you guys how happy I was. But I don't know why, I just found it so much fun. I drove that shit everywhere. I mean, everything in that area, which is like all the tourist places in that area, I drove it all with the e-scooter. And then I looked up something to do. I found a comedy show going on in the area. So I went there, had a few drinks, was there for a few hours, met some people there. You know, I went to get something to eat afterwards, and then I was taking advantage of whatever was in the area. So I'm just walking down the street. I hear jazz music playing. I was like, oh, just follow the jazz music. So I went to the place, and it was this dope ass jazz band playing. So I stayed there for like an hour, had a drink or two, and the jazz performance was just so cool. I took some shots of them, and really, really liked the shots. Unfortunately, I never sent it to them. I don't even know if I have like their information, but it was such. I felt like I was in an indie movie. And after that, I took an e-scooter to my hotel that was almost an hour away, and it was by far one of the greatest experiences of my life. I was, once again, it just to when I'm feeling good, and then it's like, I don't know if it was like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and it's just to drive it for that long in the streets. The streets are basically empty, with like the exception of a few cars. It was just so awesome. I'm really grateful to have been able to have that experience. I plan on taking a photo trip pretty soon. I don't know where exactly, but I have a few things in mind. My goal for this year is to shoot a lot out of my area, and I've been going to Boston a lot more this year. I should be going to New York in a few weeks, and I just need to see what my next trip is, because I want to focus on stuff other than Providence, even though I still will always be focused on Providence, but I need to kind of get out of this area a little bit more. So anyways, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to encourage anybody who's thinking of doing a photo trip. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Do it by yourself if you can. If not, do it with a friend or do it with other people, whatever makes sense for you. But definitely one of the better experiences that I've had so far. And I just want to showcase some of the photos that I had. The next few minutes is just going to be a few photos from the trip. So I hope you guys enjoy them. Tell me which one's your favorite in the comments, or if you have any questions or comments or anything, obviously just leave them down below. I'm trying to remember to tell you guys to like this stuff, because it's important. So like the video, share it if you like it. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.